My fellow Americans.
Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
A man holds in his mortal hand the power to abolish all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
One day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
He says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that.
I'll be like watching. I've been finding a lot of, I think because of the way I believe things, I'm pretty open-minded, I think. But I'll weirdly have things I just don't believe in. But I feel like a lot of the people I've been watching lately are actually pretty, like, skeptical people. People who don't really believe every conspiracy. In fact, make fun of a lot of conspiracies, but then have, like, really strong beliefs about certain ones that are still very, like, divisive. Like, people are like, oh, yeah, like, obviously this is stupid, but also, like, we definitely have never been on the moon. Like, that's just a fact. You know what I mean?
Wait, I'm sorry. What?
A lot of the people I've been watching lately, a lot of like the conspiracy content I've been watching are like people who don't believe everything and people who aren't like fully skeptical. It's like people who are like pretty skeptical of things and like don't believe in most things, but then like have some pretty crazy beliefs that they do believe in. And like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like like I said, because like the moon landing thing, or like somebody who doesn't believe in aliens at all, right? Somebody who doesn't believe in ghosts, right? Doesn't believe in angels and demons, right? But believes in Bigfoot.
You know what's funny is I asked someone the other day if they believe in aliens or if they believe in Bigfoot, and they said,
had to make them choose one.
"Well, no, all right." So I asked them if they believe in aliens, and they said no. And then I was like, "Well, do you believe in Bigfoot?" And they're like, "I think Bigfoot could be real." I was like, "You believe in Bigfoot but not aliens?"
Yeah, I think there's more of a chance. There's more of a chance of aliens being real because of the endless possibilities.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It's a very specific looking thing that lives on our very specific planet that we do not have enough evidence for.
Like almost no evidence at all.
Yeah.
No like provable evidence.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That's what I mean. Like I think there's more evidence of aliens having visited Earth than there is of Bigfoot. And that's something I say that kind of kills the childhood in me, because as a kid I used to think Bigfoot was like really cool.
Bigfoot has always been my least favorite cryptid.
See, I like Bigfoot. Bigfoot's always been like the popular vote for cryptids, but like I feel like
I think the world goofing on Bigfoot made him my least favorite. Just like it made me feel like, no, that's not really something worth looking into. But I know that's not true.
back in the day, I feel like I used to hear a lot of stuff about Bigfoot and like the search for Bigfoot and all that kind of stuff. Even before like they were like pumping him out heavy on like TV and movies and stuff like that. But I feel like that's the thing is like aliens you can pump out in TV and movies, and it can even just be like a subtle gag, like in The Simpsons where they show like aliens in outer space. And it never really grows old because, like you're saying, like the infinite possibilities of the situation. Whereas Bigfoot, you can't really focus too much on him.
Do you know who Steven Spielberg based the main character of Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Who?
He based this character on Jacques Vallée.
Ah.
And Jacques Vallée is one of the best, not ufologists. He's just like an all-around extra terrestrial / dimensional go-to guy. Like he thinks about it more than anybody with like a super open mind. He's very credited. He worked with what's his face? The guy who did Blue Book.
Who was that? I forgot.
The guy who went around to all these famous UFO cases because they all happened around the same time, and he was running the government program. But yeah, Project Blue Book. Jacques Vallée worked with them, worked with that guy. He's super credible, like Bob Lazar, but dude, he says some crazy shit. He's a proponent of the absurdity of the phenomenon. He's like a proponent of this shit is gonna be wacky. It's not how he would word it, but like this stuff doesn't have to make sense. And how like how Diana Pasulka mentions a lot that like these things are not repeatable. A lot of people say that, but like that's something that I heard her say a lot, and it really connected with me that like one-off events that are impossible. I mean, you cannot make it repeat, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen because there's enough people reporting that it happened and visibly like confirming it.
Mm-hmm.
Those things, like she got into those things because of miracles and like the church, but like it connects to so much more than that. And once you just accept that, like things that don't make any sense at all can happen, it just opens up like every door. Like it's just so much is fucking possible. And these things could be anything, you know? But there is evidence to point toward like what they could be, you know? If you're to believe anybody.
Non-human intelligence.
Yeah, you know? Non-human biologics.
Non-human biologics, yeah. Leaked special national intelligence estimate claimed to be authentic in Jacques Vallée's book that mentions multiple crash recoveries. An amazing leaked document almost no one knows about.
Jacques Vallée is the shit, dude. If you don't know about him, you gotta like read all his books. I've never read all his books, but you should. I also highly recommend Diana Pasulka's books if you haven't read them.
I've heard of her.
Oh man, like another fantastic deep dive. I haven't really looked into her much recently. I haven't heard anything recently. Her media tour might be over for a bit. So hopefully she's doing some good research right now.
So here's a Reddit post about remote viewing, Project Stargate, the relationship between UFO sightings and contact with extraterrestrial intelligence and psychic phenomena.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was talking to my woman. I was talking to my woman about how you know Cyberpunk the game, the video game.
Yeah.
And obviously like the tabletop game. I'm not that old, so I don't remember playing that game. Um, that world, when I finally played it and I was just walking around, everything made sense to me, and I can see the world going in that direction. I'm sure a lot of people do. But one thing that was really interesting is like the slight paranormal hints to it. Like there's the tarot cards and just like the weird mysteries of the world. I think that our world is going to be essentially just like that. Essentially. But there's going
I
to be
think,
way more paranormal stuff happening.
well, you can find a lot of like interesting stuff like that in a lot of like open world games. You know, like you stumble onto like mysterious cabins in Red Dead and find like,
Oh,
you
Red
know, an
Dead. Red
entire,
Dead's like the best example. Red Dead is
yeah,
so full of stuff like that. I love it. Love Red Dead.
exactly. Like you can
But
find
that's
random
how the
UFO
world really
encounters.
was, I think. I think the world was full of mysteries like that and crazy shit happening. Right?
Exactly. And all you could do is just write about it and document it potentially.
Yeah. That's all.
Or
That's
just
another
talk
great
about
part
it.
is like the notes and the drawings he puts in his book. I love it.
Well,
Love it.
exactly.
Love
Me
that.
too.
I really want a third one badly.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It's probably gonna be a long time though. But Cyberpunk, we haven't had that yet, but that's where we're heading. And I think that
Mhm.
it's gonna be way more paranormal. Like I remember how we're talking recently, how like things are already getting more and more paranormal. Crazy shit is happening more and more often.
Yeah, there's a
I think
lot of
that's
weird stuff happening.
I think that's the world we're heading into, and I think we're gonna have like things are gonna we are gonna have these mega block super cities like Night City and Mega City and fucking Cool City, uh, 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 Vapor City, but they're all going to be connected by deserts and wastelands, but those deserts and wastelands aren't going to be entirely that. I think they're going to be like reclaimed by the mysterious and dark parts of the world that we don't understand.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying?
I think even in like the industrial complexes and stuff like that, a lot of weird stuff is gonna happen.
Yeah,
Like
and I think
weird
that's
stuff
why
happens already in
I think you
cities.
should play Cyberpunk if you haven't, especially if you like Red Dead. I think you would love Cyberpunk.
Oh, I have played Cyberpunk.
Have you played it?
Cyberpunk's cool.
Have you replayed it since all the updates? It's a
Yeah,
lot more fun now.
I played it like within like the past year.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good game. Um, let's talk about this weird post where they talk about like psychic phenomena and the link to aliens.
Oh, I'm sorry. I also wanted to mention that's like the
Yeah.
one thing missing from Cyberpunk is psychic people, because like a lot of futuristic Cyberpunk versions of or depictions of the future
Mhm.
involve psychics, and which I think is actually very accurate.
Yeah, I think psychic phenomena will be a lot more attainable later on. Is there any alien stuff in Cyberpunk?
Almost none. I'm pretty sure not really. There's like mysteries that might allude to it, I think. I don't even remember though. I don't remember aliens really coming up, but there's definitely some weird shit. Just not enough. They should have way more paranormal going on. But
Yeah.
it's based on the tabletop, so I'm sure there's not that much paranormal going on there.
All right, that makes sense. So what's your views on remote viewing?
Remote viewing. I mean, I think that at one point I was like casually doing it. I know I it was almost something like I was letting myself believe I was, and in
Mhm.
doing that, like it really felt like I was. Like I really think I might have been doing it. Um, it I haven't been able to do it recently. I would just kind of do it like right before I'm about to sleep, and it wasn't like a dream because it was something that would like come out of, and like it's kind of like I'm almost like about to open my eyes, but instead I open my eyes and I'm seeing everything, but I'm not really like seeing everything. But then
Mhm.
like once I start to move, I can see more, and I'm like seeing everything, but like I'm still laying in my bed, and I can just keep going, and I can just keep like moving out there. I don't know how accurate it is.
It almost sounds like astral projection.
Exactly. I think maybe that's more what I was doing, but it didn't really feel that. Like I still feel like it wasn't astral projection. I still think it was like my mind. It could have been like my mind just like imagining. Like, I can easily imagine myself floating out of my window and floating over the city that I know very well. You know what I mean? But then like it would get to the point where like something would be on TV in my room or in another room, and I would see it what's on TV, and I was listening to it, and maybe I could just imagine what was on TV because I was listening to it, but like it was just like crystal clear. I would just like see what's going on. I've ever told you that before, huh? Because I feel like that's something that was just like I don't even accept as real yet.
Recently somebody told me that in order to like actually get UFOs to come to where you are, you have to like remote view and channel and see yourself like where you are on the planet, so to speak, like cosmically.
That's like you telling them where to go.
Well, exact. I was failing to get UFOs to show up, and they told me that that's the way. They might even get to that on here, honestly, but they told me that that's how like it happens.
Well, you know what? Like that is probably the deeper part of it. Like I definitely know about people using like their minds to talk to aliens. Like doesn't Stephen Greer believe in that? I'm pretty sure that's like a pretty I believe that that's possible. I don't believe everything Stephen Greer says. I just think that that is possible.
Yeah, well, I think aliens have the technology to read people's minds or even like some kind of psychic technology because like
Yeah.
if we've like technologically prospered for like thousands of years, I'm sure we would come up with some pretty impressive like technology that affects brainwaves and
We
things.
do. We do. And we're
Yeah.
so I was telling another thing I was when I was talking about woman. Another thing I was talking to her about is that like we only start really accepting these things as not ridiculous once we get close to the technology, and like it doesn't sounds like we're. I know there's still crazy ahead of us, but at the same time, like a lot of it's starting to make sense, and like the gravitational shit and like moving at that kind of. I don't know how they do that, but when it comes to like reading minds or just being able to do anything like that, think about this: we already scan brainwaves. It's so hard to understand, right? But just like take that information and give it to an AI and tell them to like visualize it. And I'm sure they're doing that right now. I'm sure they're doing that
Yeah.
right now and like working on it until it's like looks as good as like a Nintendo 64 game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably.
So just give that like 100 years and think about how well we can read minds.
Remember Zalora was talking about that dream experiment where they were like showing like a word or like projecting a word into one person's dream, and then they were able to re-signal it into the other person's dream and have them like outwardly project it.
Weird.
Yeah,
Weird.
that's like some kind of like psychic phenomena right there. But let's get into this Project Stargate thing. It says that there's a CIA PowerPoint on Project Stargate. Should we look at that?
Did you even intro the show yet?
All right, this is As the World Burns. I'm your host, and I'm here with my co-host, D. Short, simple, sweet, right to the point.
Yeah, you would think it's simple, but you'd be dead wrong.
Dead wrong with a capital D.
Yup.
Anyways, we're going to be looking today into remote viewing, psychic phenomena, and aliens. Remote viewing is a method of perceiving non-local information of the universe using the power of the human consciousness. The CIA began studying the potential of remote viewing at SRI in the 1960s with the famous psychic Ingo Swann. The two most famous physicists involved in these experiments were Russell Targ and Hal Puthoff, who are very interested in the foundation of quantum physics, which would allow for psychic abilities to operate. Ingo was one of the first members of Project Stargate, which was the study performed by the CIA to determine weaponization and capability of psychic phenomena. The reason the CIA was so invested in this area of research was that the Soviets during the Cold War had spent over 20 million rubles by 1973 on a similar remote viewing telepathy program. I will be referring to the CIA in this section because of their recent declassification surrounding a lot of these documents. And they show examples and send examples of remote viewing to spy on a Soviet base in the Ural Mountains, and a document purporting to show a remote viewing session of Mars at 1 million BC, which we will come back to later in the post. Non-locality is a property of quantum mechanics, which states that entangled particles affect each other's quantum state instantaneously, seemingly transmitting information faster than the speed of light. In this CIA paper, we gain insight into what the CIA calls the gateway process, using hemi-sync technology. This paper shows Wayne McDonald writing to a commander. You asked me to provide an assessment of the gateway experience in terms of its mechanics and ultimate practicality. As I set out to fulfill that tasking, it soon became clear in order to assess the validity and practicality of the process, I needed to do enough supporting research and analysis to fully understand how and why the process works. He then goes on to explain the foundations of transcendental meditation, brain coherence, holograms, a universal consciousness matrix, OBEs, and much more. He does all this to lay out the idea that under altered states of consciousness, the human brain is capable of perceiving non-local information and capable of interacting with a holographic underlying framework of the universe. That's pretty fascinating. As if it isn't strange enough, there is really shocking point at the end of this paper in McDonald's conclusion after describing how to induce the gateway experience in an individual. He states, be intellectually prepared to react to possible encounters with intelligent, non-corporeal energy forms when time-space boundaries are exceeded. This is important because it established the precedent from a CIA document that human beings are capable of interacting with intelligent entities while being in an altered state of consciousness. To move away from this for a second, I want to come back to this. But just as like a quick discussion about everything we just read, you know what's interesting about that is if people take psychedelic drugs or they do things, I think they're probably going to mention this in the next part. But when people take psychedelic drugs and stuff like that, are they potentially tapping into like a hidden hologram and framework of reality and seeing things that aren't there? That's why they purport like seeing demons or seeing like all kinds of different entities, because they're seeing things that are actually there, but lifting the veil on that.
There's this really funny series of videos. I haven't really looked back into it at all, but I remember seeing one video that took it very seriously and it was actually pretty convincing. It made me really interested in the topic, which is these guys who are like doing a bunch of acid and then looking at lasers and seeing a bunch of numbers inside the lasers.
Mm-hmm.
Like they swear they can see like this other version of reality. Or they can see like what the laser's made out of in terms of like ones and zeros. Like everybody goofs on it. I've seen so many people goofing on it, but I've only seen one video take it very seriously and talk about it like it's not a crazy thing.
I mean, what was the basis for the video of it not being crazy?
I think that like there's like a bunch of scientists who are doing it. There's like people who are like pretty credible who are like, yeah, we think we might be tapping into like the framework of our reality. You know what's funny? That actually reminds me of that story you told me. Now that I think about it,
Which one?
where you saw like the Matrix and wait, was that you who told me that?
No, I think it is when I had like an epiphany moment.
I just realized somebody else told me something just like that, and I was thinking of that person. But I think it was what you were telling me too. No, what you were telling me too.
About when I started to notice that like all the zombies moved like in sequence, and it was basically like a code, and I started to like equate it with like the code of like reality. I had like a deja vu epiphany moment.
You know what? I think this was just the other person I'm thinking of. That's why I thought it might have been you, because you told me that. It is similar. It is similar because it is still just numbers. Like these people think they see like the numbers that make up our reality.
Yeah, I mean that's how it felt in the moment to me, is that like it almost felt like God was numbers. And there's a lot of people that I think there's like a conspiracy that like people think God is numbers. Like numbers is actually like
That's how God communicates.
yeah, it's like the representation of God.
Yeah, that's why people believe in angel numbers, I think.
Yeah, I think that's exactly. Quick aside, connection to DMT. There is a lot of research done by people such as Terence McKenna which shows that psychedelic drugs, which places the subject in an altered state of consciousness, often cause the subject to see and interact with seemingly intelligent entities while tripping. This great article shows an undeniable correlation between the ingestion of psychedelics and contact with intelligent entities. So what I was getting at with this whole thing and like lifting the veil is, remember I told you about like how some people think that Benedict Cumberbatch is a reptilian, and I thought when I was tripping that I seen that. Is it possible that I saw like a holographic projection of his psychic, like of his actual like psychic, like how
That's
he
where we
actually
get
is?
into a dangerous territory. That's where we get into a really dangerous territory because like
Why?
if it's not even that this is what they really look like, this is what they like just psychically look like. Like it's like the only way. I mean, maybe it makes it more realistic if it's that way, but to me, it's very dangerous to just being able to be like that person's aura.
To me, that makes it more realistic.
Exactly, it does make it more realistic, but also way more dangerous to like think about.
If they're like an evil person, they can project that aura onto like the television or onto like a movie. Like
Benedict
that's
Cumberbatch is
guaranteed.
bad.
No, but I'm saying like if he
He's a good
has like a
guy.
Yeah, he is. I'm saying though, if he does have like a reptilian aura, then potentially people on drugs or something like that, with their inhibitions lowered or something like that, could tap into seeing that. And
Yeah.
that's like we were talking about people who bump their head and are able to like see psychic phenomenon more. There's a lot of people who I'm sure bump their head and who start thinking that they see like demons in people, and maybe they're right. Maybe they're psycho, maybe they're schizo, but maybe they're actually right, because maybe they could be seeing not even a demon in somebody, or a demon or an angel in somebody. They could just be seeing something that something latched onto
Yeah.
somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's a
Like
lot
the
of things
demon
like
just
that. Like that
latched
show,
onto him.
the show Evil I was telling you about is a lot like that, where this one priest can see the demons. Nobody else can, but a lot of people see weird shit around him.
On Constantine.
John Constantine. But also, do you remember? I forgot the name of this movie. Let me look it up, and then we can redo this whole conversation. I'm looking it up right now.
All right, I'm gonna keep going with the other thing. Remote viewing and humanoid contact. Revisiting the Mars paper with this new insight into the gateway experience, we gain a better understanding of the purpose of the experiment. After having the subject place themselves on Mars at approximately 1 million BC, the subject observes some type of mass geological event. He is asked to move in time to before this event, and we get the following interaction. I just want to say real quick, I actually remember reading a lot about this, about the CIA document release talking about like remote viewers trying to like observe what happened to Mars and like the history of Mars. Anyways, this is what they said. I'm seeing it's like a perception of a shadow of people, very tall, thin. It's only a shadow. It's as if they were going and they're not there anymore. Go back to a period of time where they are there. I just keep seeing very large people. They appear thin and tall, but they're very large, wearing some kind of strange clothes. All right, now holding in this time period, I want to move from your physical location in space to another physical location, but in this time period. So we find that the time of interest in this experiment was specifically the time period when some type of humanoids were supposedly living on Mars. The experiment then goes on to hit major geographic points on Mars where the subject describes pyramids, obelisks, and large megalithic structures. The experimenters are not remotely surprised to find humanoids on the surface of Mars. In fact, it appears to be the entire purpose of the experiment to observe the geographic locations of Mars which might have once supported actual humanoid life over 1 million years ago. When the subject makes contact with another humanoid, we get the following exchange. Move close to one of them and ask them to tell you about themselves. They're ancient people. They're dying. It's past their time or age. They're very philosophic about it. They're looking for a way to survive. They just can't seem to get their way out. They can't seem to find their way out. So they're banging on while they look or wait for something to return or something coming with the answer. What is it they're waiting for? A group, a party of them that they want to find, a new place to live. It's like I'm getting all kinds of overwhelming input of the corruption of their environment. It's failing very rapidly, and the group went somewhere, like a long way, to find another place to live. This almost sounds like the way humanity's headed. All right, now before you leave this individual, ask him if there is any way that you ask him if he knows who you are, and is there any way you can help him in his present predicament. All I get is that they must just wait. Doesn't know who I am, think he perceives I'm just a hallucination or something. Okay, when the others left, these people are waiting. When the others left, how did they go? It looks like the inside of a larger boat. Very rounded walls and shiny metal. Very rounded walls and shiny metal. Go along with them on their journey and find out where it is they go. Impression of a really crazy place with volcanoes and gas pockets and strange plants. Very volatile place. It's very much like going from a frying pan into the fire. Difference is there seems to be a lot of vegetation where the other place did not have it, and different kind of storm. From this interaction, we get the impression that this experiment yielded information showing a tall, thin humanoid race living on the surface of Mars with an impending cataclysm. These people then leave Mars and arrive on a different planet with different problems, but at least a large source of vegetation. Was that Earth? Maybe? Potentially? Who knows? WikiLeaks files implying government knowledge and interaction with ETI, UFOs. It is tough to convince people in a couple short paragraphs that the government is aware of ETs and have had a relationship with them since at least the 1950s. So I don't intend to spend a lot of time trying to convince the reader that this is the case. Instead, I will cite documents which were released from WikiLeaks to show you that at the very least there are official diplomatic cables and emails between high-profile politicians and government officials which supports the idea that extraterrestrials have visited Earth in the past and are more likely still visiting us. The idea also includes the possibility that the Apollo program was not what it appeared to be at first glance. And it comes with a few attached files, arrangements to welcome ET life forms to the U.S. Secret moon base had destroyed.
How do you think this would line up with the Anunnaki? Do you think, like, they can't be the Anunnaki, right?
Yeah, I think most definitely they're the Anunnaki.
Well, because I thought the planet the Anunnaki came from was like Planet X.
Yeah, it supposedly wasn't Mars, but what if they stopped at Mars on the way from Planet X and they were, or maybe Mars is actually Planet X. Who knows? Maybe that's why all these space programs or whatever want to fake, Mars rovers in the footage or whatever, according to a lot of these theorists.
It is weird that Mars is like. Does Mars have storms?
I thought so.
Like, but not storms like Jupiter and not storms like Venus, right?
No, it's just like dust storms.
I feel like there's no climate to Mars almost. Like there is a heat, there is like I guess there is a climate, but there's no like nothing crazy happening on Mars at all, whereas like every other planet has something except for like Pluto.
So then there's the emails to John Podesta from Edgar Mitchell and Tom DeLonge. Regardless of your opinion of Tom DeLonge, I think it's important to include these emails here because it shows at the very least government and military officials involved with the cover-up of the UFO phenomena, cooperating with him and feeding him information, which is tied to the psychic phenomena and crashed UFO sightings. For important sections of this email, I would include quotes. General McClassland working with Tom DeLonge. When Roswell crashed, they shipped it to the laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. General McClassland was in charge of the exact laboratory up to a couple years ago. Then it shows emails with photos of a triangle UFO attached, an email showing Tom's involvement with Vice on a docuseries. The juicier emails come from the sixth man to walk on the moon, Edgar Mitchell. He outright claims human interaction with ET. This email showing Terry Mansfield setting up a Skype meeting for John Podesta. Dear John, an ongoing request for our Skype talk to discuss disclosure and difference between our contiguous universe, nonviolent, obedient ETI, and the celestials of this universe, and because Hillary and Bill Clinton were intimates of Lawrence Rockefeller, who had an avid interest in ETI, I direct your attention to Scott Jones, Ph.D. In Scott's book, Voices from the Cosmos, he describes himself as an octogenarian in full karmic payback, made following 30 years in the military, half in combat arms and half in intelligence. He references you in his ETI matter, as well as the Catholic Church. Disclosure is now top priority for ETI itself and the protection of the people. and an email with an attached space treaty that was voted on by the UN in 2008 and 2015. Dear John, because the war in space race is heating up, I've felt you should be aware of several factors as you and I schedule our Skype talk. Remember, our non-violent ETI from the contiguous universe are helping us bring zero-point energy to Earth. They will not tolerate any forms of military violence on Earth or in space. Kind of interesting, given there's a lot of talk about extraterrestrials not wanting the military to blow things up or do anything of that matter. And finally, an email discussing extraterrestrial disclosure. John, I would like to schedule a phone conversation at your earliest convenience to discuss what I feel are intensifying imperatives for extraterrestrial disclosure. For many years, you and I have shared a mutual vision of disclosure. I highly commend your public record urging disclosure, which includes the foreword you wrote for Leslie Kean's book and your call for the Pentagon's release of 25-year-old classified government documents on UFO investigations. When your government releases this classified information, we become the 25th country to make public disclosure. You and I also share a mutual vision for Earth's sustainability, apparent in the escalating demand for a change in global energy policy. Our phone discussion will also include the zero-point energy research and applications developed by my Quantrek International Science Team. Advanced energy science is linked to consciousness research and public disclosure of the extraterrestrial presence. I want to real quick write down Quantrek International because I want to look them up later, because that would be a good one to have on the radar.
You know how you're talking about people who you might be interfacing with like this AR that's actually visible for everybody in their minds?
It's almost like the idea of they live.
Yes. Except in They Live, you put the glasses on and you just see it.
Exactly. So maybe when you take drugs or you bonk your head a few too many times or you experience like some kind of psychic phenomena, you basically put the glasses on.
Have you ever seen the movie Frailty?
No. What's that about?
It's about a family that go around killing people, and they reveal at the. I'm just gonna tell you the ending. Spoiler alert. It's a pretty good movie. I don't remember much because it was a long time ago, but I just remember that this is like such a good twist. At the end, all the people they killed were actually demons.
It's almost like Secret Invasion or something like that.
Yeah. But you have this thing where it's like these people just seem like serial killers. Like it's horrific, and it's like, damn, like, what the fuck? Like, what? We can't just like, all right, you think they're demons. All right, well, you're a piece of shit. But it's like, well, what if those are just demons that are acting like good people, but they're actually horrible people, and they're actually demons? Or maybe they're not. Maybe the family, like you were saying, were just like seeing their demonic aura that they had. Or maybe they were tapping in and seeing the demonic entity that was taking control of them like an avatar.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Like somebody like latching on to them or something like that.
No, I get it. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Well, yeah. I'm just not so like worried about all that because like I think that if that exists, then the same thing exists but for things that are not demonic and not evil.
Oh, 100%. That's what I was also saying was like there could be like guardian angels or something that attach to people.
I think that they have us looking at it very black and white when it's not like that at all. And I think there could be something that's really bad for other people but like latches onto you and like treats you really well.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's like, isn't that part of the Faustian bargain?
Well, not exactly. I don't mean it's gonna like do bad things to other people while it's with you, but like just the fact that like it wouldn't get along with other people. You know what I mean?
So you're saying that it's almost like in Skyrim, how they have like all these like deities and like ancient like gods that only certain people worship because
Yeah.
it benefits specifically them to worship that god.
Not just benefits them, but also like think about more of like a deeper story where like I guess like a lot of anime could be like this or manga, but like just a very like an otherworldly entity somehow finding common cause or just like relating to a human, and that's their connection. It's not because like they have to be there or anything, or maybe they have to be there or they're stuck together or they one's trying to take over the other, but then they kind of like find common ground. They start to realize, wait, we're like brothers, or like, oh wait, we're like one and the same, or like,
Like
wow, you're the
Venom.
only one who gets it. You know what I mean?
Just like Venom.
Just like Venom, just like Naruto.
Oh, I don't know that one.
No, you don't, but it's actually it's what's going on with Naruto. He's got the nine-tailed demon fox inside of him, which is actually like a violent thing that killed his parents.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they just he it was a violent. It was like constantly trying to murder his friends and like ruin his life, but like it would also kind of like help him out just to survive on its own, so it wouldn't get have to like reincarnate again. I think
Yeah.
you find out later on that these things can reincarnate. Um, yeah, it's like this crazy thing that's built up to be super evil, but then by the end of the story, it's his best friend. God damn it!
It's his best friend.
Because it's like yeah, like some. What's another thing? What's another thing? You watch Invincible?
Yeah.
All right. Do you watch? And you know, in the new season where they kind of like they really start to explain it a little bit, the nuance to the love and the reality of Omni Man having to help the good guys now, and about one day, hopefully, in Mark's eyes, hopefully Omni Man can come back and apologize, and everybody will slowly start to forgive him. Like that's what
Mm-hmm.
he's hoping for, right?
Yeah.
But it's like because it's gonna be hard for us, but like he had to accept that, and I think his mom, or it might have been his mom saying this, that they had to accept that he's like an alien following different rules. He's coming from an empire race, and he's like, he's a being that can live for like 1,000 years. So like a human is like almost nothing. So it's like they kind of get why there's like a gap to be crossed in like the level of understanding they have about reality. But the family that Omni-Man has on Earth is what's going to bridge that gap. It is going to allow him to connect with humanity more, and that's what ends up happening.
Mm-hmm.
But like he was this crazy violent piece of shit who would just kill a human with no thought because like it honestly didn't matter. But that could change. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's hard to you can't equate that to like a human being. You can't. And if any human being did what Omni Man did, he's like everybody would agree he should be executed, pretty much. Maybe not everybody, obviously, but like should be locked away forever. But what do you do about a thing that you can't lock away forever? That you just have to accept is out there, and like the only thing you have is that it can connect to you and kind of like understand that maybe it shouldn't just murder you or murder other people or just do bad things.
I mean, I guess as long as it's beneficial towards you and you're making that choice to accept that into your life, then, you know, I don't know.
I agree. I think that's what it is. I think that like
I mean, we make that bargain every day when we use money.
oh shit.
That's not really that profound of a statement, though. It's true.
No, but it's true. It's
It's
that like It's that slap in the face.
It is, because everybody dies and lives for money pretty much and just keeps it going. It becomes an entity in and of itself that keeps on operating whether people love it or hate it. And most people just need it. I mean, everyone needs it technically.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I think the idea that we attach ourselves to money and we keep it circulating, we would do the same thing with advanced entities or demons or angels or whatever you want to call it. I guess just an advanced entity. I found this other post that seemed pretty cool. It's from 11 years ago. And it says 19th century airship mystery, exotic means of propulsion and the beginnings of a breakaway civilization. And I was reading it a little bit and it seemed pretty cool.
Breakaway civilizations are, well, just that term. I love it.
Yeah, me too. Joseph P. Farrell. This isn't your typical UFO conspiracy theory. While I don't intend to diminish the importance of the extraterrestrial hypothesis, especially with regards to the explanation of the UFO phenomenon, for now we're going to concern ourselves with another possible explanation. For many early UFO sightings, a very human explanation. I'm trying to read this like Donald Pleasance from Halloween. That being said, records of UFO sightings go back thousands of years. When Alexander the Great began to attack the city of Tyre, 5 flying shields were recorded by both the attacking and defending forces. One of the shields shot a lightning bolt and brought down the walls, and Alexander's army stormed and captured the city. Wow, they were helping Alexander. That's wild. Jacques Vallée, a well-known ufologist, has come across many unusual incidents in the distant past, including a cigar-shaped UFO that was observed to change course in Europe in 1034.
When this happened, where was Alexander trying to conquer?
Alexander the Great began to attack the city of Tyre.
Where's that?
Tyre. Tyre. I don't know. Alexander the Great. City of Tyre. There we go. Siege of Tyre was orchestrated by Alexander the Great in 332 BC during his campaigns against the Persians. At first, the Macedonian army was unable to capture.
Tyre's in Persia?
Yeah. I don't know. It's not saying nothing about a UFO yet.
Yeah, that's not the official.
Alternative conclusion. Polanius, the Macedonian, in one of the 2 stratagems he gives about Alexander's siege of Tyre, provides a different account of Alexander's conquest of the city. According to him, Alexander had marched into Arabia, having left Parmenion in charge of besieging force. The Tyrians found the courage to exit their walls and engage the Greeks, often beating them in various skirmishes. Alexander was informed to hurry back, reaching the city. That wasn't what it was. Let me look up Alexander the Great.
All I really wanted to know was where they were attacking, which we got. They were going into Persia.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like more like the Persian Empire at the time, and maybe it's no longer Persia.
Ancient sources claim large silver shields were flying in the sky during Alexander's siege of Tyre. So what if those were actually what do you call it? Just like time travelers trying to help Alexander the Great conquer. That would be pretty funny, honestly.
I don't know. You know what I noticed recently?
What?
And again, this is something you can cut from this because this is just like a half thought, and it's more like a feeling. Recently, I feel like there's been like a suppression of talk about Alexander the Great. Am I crazy to say that? Wasn't Alexander the Great like the fucking greatest conqueror in history?
Yeah, that's why he was the great.
Maybe it has something to do with this UFO connection. I don't know. Maybe there's like a reason why UFOs were helping him that we don't know about. That they would want to suppress him now for. Like, don't think about him too much.
Hmm.
Don't think about how successful he was all the time. Don't think about him like he's another like he's like an inverted Jesus. He's like this conquering piece of shit who like ruled the world. Couldn't some people view couldn't couldn't some people imagine him to be the Antichrist?
Yeah, probably. But was he that much of a piece of shit?
I mean, he was just rolling into lands that weren't his just to take them and killing people everywhere.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but
he doesn't have a name like Ivan the Terrible or anything like that. He was
because he
Alexander the
won.
Great.
Because he won. And he died. He when it was his time to die, he was like, "You guys can have this. You guys can have this," and everybody was like, "Awesome, sweet." Wasn't it great that Alexander was here to give this all this? And then they all just revered him. So that's why he goes down as the great.
There's a tale that he like sought out Diogenes. Basically, Diogenes like told him like not to step in his sun because he asked him like for advice.
Oh, he's like blocking the sun.
Yeah, it was great.
I feel like that's I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that really happens. It sounds like a really good story that people would say, like as in that has meaning, you know? Like Diogenes said, like "fuck you" to Alexander the Great,
I mean, maybe.
this homeless piece of shit who was more aware than all of us.
This
Could see that
homeless
Alexander
piece
the
of
Great was
shit.
just yeah, he could see that Alexander the Great was just some other guy like us. So it was them telling that tale. But really, Alexander the Great probably looked like fucking Adam Warlock.
Probably look like Adam Warlock. That's hilarious. I think you're probably onto something there. That being said, Will Poulter could probably play Adam Warlock. Or I'm sorry, Alexander the Great.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. All right. Um
I don't think you should post the part about me saying that. Like, I think there's been a suppression of talk about Alexander the Great because I think it does sound stupid. It was just a half thought I wanted to explain to you.
I wasn't gonna. That you even said that we're gonna cut this
All
out.
right, perfect. All right, cool. I just wanted to clarify that again. One more topic.
Yeah, what topic do you want to do?
I didn't have one in mind.
What? All right.
Wait, is the Library of Alexandria named after Alexander? Or is it the other way around? Like, because he's from Alexandria?
Yeah, it's Alexandria, Egypt.
Is that where Alexander's from? Where did Alexander come from? Is he just named after Alexandria? Like, what name came first? How old is? I guess we could just find out which one's older. That's the quick answer. He died in, does that say 323 BC? Is that what that says? Yeah, 323 BC.
Yeah, he died in 323 BC.
And
Uh,
when was when did the Library of Alexandria exist?
48 BC. So that would have been
48?
yeah. So that would have
Is
been
that when it burned,
afterwards. Uh
or is that when it was constructed? Established possibly during the reign. This existed after Alexander. Isn't that interesting?
yeah, that makes sense though.
Was it Egypt? Was Alexandria? Wait, click on Alexandria.
It
See
it probably was named after Alexander the Great.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, founded in 331 BC by Alexander the Great.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. That's cool though. The
Whoa.
Ouroboros singularity hypothesis. What do you think of the idea of reliving our past selves or our past lives? Like
don't
being
know.
able, like this theory I was just reading just then was about how supposedly reincarnation and all that jazz, it comes from the fact that we all have like an individual like frequency that we fall under, that we basically that we tap into when we die or when we're born. And I guess it's like our soul is that frequency. What do you and the idea that we could possibly like tap into, you know, our past lives or stuff like that. There's a lot of people. I remember like early on I watched a lot of like unsolved mysteries and stuff like that. And like the History Channel, like when I was a kid, like had a lot of like stuff like that talked about a lot of like psychic phenomena. And one of the ones was there was this guy who talked about how he in a previous life was one of the passengers of the Titanic, and he would get like all these crazy dreams about like being on the Titanic and like tapping into that and like I think dying on the Titanic. Like what if that's like a lot of the things that we experience in like dreams when we think that we're like in like a cowboy world or something like that. We're just experiencing our past life. Five-year-old claims to have died on Titanic. Ghost inside my child. A boy called Jamie who believes he may have been Thomas Andrews in a past life. Who's Thomas Andrews?
Who believes he was Thomas Andrews?
A 5-year-old kid believed he was Thomas Andrews. A British businessman and shipbuilder who was managing director and head of the drafting department of the shipbuilding company Harland and Wolff in Belfast, Ireland. He was the naval architect and in charge of the plans of the ocean liner and Titanic, and perished along with more than 1,500 people when the ship sank on her maiden voyage. That's interesting. So this random 5-year-old kid thinks that he is the reincarnation of this dude, Thomas Andrews. That's wild. I wonder if there's anything else about this Thomas Andrews guy.
Of Epstein clients. Oh no, Thomas.
He's like 110 years too late.
Pop up at the top. I don't think it's on here.
What is it?
You looked it up, right?
What?
You looked up that guy's name, right?
Yeah, Thomas Andrews. Yeah.
Oh wait, Paradise Police shooting of Andrew Thomas.
Thomas Andrews Drake interviewed by RT at 3:30. What you're seeing.
It's not coming up.
Yeah, no, he's not coming up at all.
Pizzagate confirmed?
I don't know.
Wait, go up.
Oh no, I was just looking for this guy's name to see if there was
I know,
any
but
other
go
like
up.
paranormal stuff related to him.
Alright, you want to keep it paranormal? I'll just ignore what I just saw.
No, I'm not trying to keep it paranormal. We just talked about UFOs.
It said Pizzagate confirmed.
I mean, that's like one of those posts on Reddit conspiracy. It's, you know, we could get into
Gotta
it.
go on
but-
there more often.
Yeah. Here's one. Recent Titanic submarine implosion was a planned mass execution of rival foreign billionaires who were non-members to the global elite, an exact replica of the Titanic tragedy. Apparently an anomaly the U.S. Navy detected Sunday was likely the small watercraft's fatal blast. How convenient. So this guy's saying that the original Titanic was a way to take out a lot of the rich people. I think I've actually heard that before.
I've heard that before too.
Let's see. The foreign rival billionaires that were executed on the Titanic on April 14th, 1912, 2 years before World War I seemed to have a similar pattern to the recent execution of foreign rival billionaires on board the Ocean Gate. Beware of names that end with gate such
Thomas
as
Andrews?
Nixon. Architect of the Titanic also died during the tragic execution because it is a lot more.
Did that boy think he was the architect of the Titanic?
That's what I was saying. Yeah, he
Wait,
thought that he was Thomas Andrews.
what?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I could totally see him building little Lego Titanics and then accidentally making them unsustainable as they sink. The Lego Titanic, it'll sink on its maiden voyage. W.T. Stead was an investigative journalist that wrote How the Mail Steamer that went down in the mid-Atlantic by a survivor in 1886 that bore an unsettling resemblance to the real-life events of the Titanic. It appears this investigative journalist knew more than he should about the upcoming events. That's wild. John Jacob Astor, I've heard of this guy before, was founder of Waldorf Astoria Hotel and a direct competitor of Conrad Hilton, who was developing the American Hilton hotel brand at the time. John Thayer and Charles Hayes, both prominent railroad executives that were a nuisance to the ever-expanding automobile industry of American business Henry Ford, founder of Ford Motor Company in 1903, and of course American businessman William Durant, founder of General Motors in 1908. Why have an efficient railroad system when an American businessman can mass-produce automobiles to sell for a profit with tied reoccurring revenues such as vehicle service, maintenance, increased gasoline sales, government tag registrations, auto insurance premiums, toll roads, etc. Much more profitable than an efficient railroad system, that's for sure. And Isidore Straus, co-owner of Macy's, one of the most influential department stores in America and a direct rival to Henry Siegel, founder of the Siegel-Cooper Company in 1887, which bankrupted in 1915 due to being heavily outrivaled by Macy's. Benjamin Guggenheim, a mining magnate, and George Wick, an industrialist in the steel manufacturing business, both direct rivals to American billionaire John D. Rockefeller, founder of the Standard Oil Company in 1870, and American billionaire Andrew Carnegie, founder of U.S. Steel in 1901, respectively. Henry B. Thomas, these are all people that died billionaires, or, adjusted for inflation, I guess, would be billionaires. Of their time, who died on the Titanic, who had mysterious rivals. Henry B. Harris, a well-known Broadway producer that was rival to Carl Lamal, founder of Universal Pictures, on April 30th, 1912, only 16 days after the sinking of the Titanic.
Butt or Archibald?
Archibald Butt. Or Archibald Butte, or Archibald Butt, U.S. presidential aide, and later. But yeah, all right, interesting. What do you think about the idea that the Titanic was actually just like
Go down. What was below that? There was more to that post. Go down.
It was just like sightings, NPR, all that stuff. Oh, are you talking about the
Go up a little bit. Right here.
You're talking about Ocean Gate? Yeah, well, they're just talking about they're talking about how Ocean Gate may have been like an execution like the Titanic. French deep sea explorer and Titanic expert Paul Henry Nargeolet. Experts on the Titanic to investigate the true mysteries of the event are not desirable. He should have picked a different subject to research, sadly. Ocean Gate, the company that operated the Titan and whose CEO Stockton Rush piloted the watercraft, also died, just as the architect of the Titanic died. It's best to eliminate the founder and developer of the submarine as to not get any counter-rhetoric to the story. British-Pakistani billionaire Shahzada Dawood and his son Salman Dawood at age 19, who worked with Dawood Foundation to search for extraterrestrial life in direct opposition of the U.S. military, SpaceX, and DARPA that don't want any further research outside of Earth after their faked Apollo 11 mission in 1969 that NASA conveniently lost the original video footage and is unable to replicate the mission to lost technology, according to their spokesperson. Further, Shahzada Dawood founded Engro Corporation, a large fertilizer firm that is becoming a direct competitor to Warner Brauman, CEO of Germany company Bayer, that recently acquired Monsanto, the producer of various chemicals such as Roundup. Hamish Harding, founder of Dubai-based Action Aviation, a direct competitor to Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin space tourism company that numerous billionaires, including Harding, took part of to explore outer space. That's interesting, given the Blue Origin thing is like really big right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
We were,
it is.
yeah, we were talking about that before the pod about how people were like thinking if Katy Perry was gonna make it back alive or whatever was gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm really glad she's back and safe.
Yeah, she's a national treasure.